Recording is now in progress. We'll start a little bit over again. Let's see.
If you go,
Lisa, you want to help?
So we'll go to share, and you want to share the PowerPoint presentation, right? So we'll just hit share, and then do you have any video that you need to show? Okay. And so when you share, if you're looking over here, there it goes. It'll show you what slide you're on. So that's what you want, and then you'll just everything's here for you to see.
Perfect.
Let me get you back over. Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. I apologize for the technical difficulties. All right, so today we're going to be thinking about the impact of family engagement, some effective strategies and practices, the mindsets, habits, behaviors that you can have that support family engagement. So I'd like you to think for a moment about a time when someone reached out for your insight, or maybe they included you in some life-impacting conference. They gave you tools to build connections, to be part of a network, and they supported you in engaging with the most important mission of your life. So as you think about that for a minute, these are some important times. These are some important aspects of life. How did that look? What did they do? What did it sound like? So how was it communicated? What was your experience when you had that information given to you, or that invitation to be a part of that? And how did it make you feel? Would anyone like to share?
I will. Can you hear me?
Well,
Yes,
It-
I can hear you.
it was when I was doing hospice training, and one of the little patients that I had was probably a 80-pound, 90-year-old, and her son wanted everything to happen. He didn't want her to go on hospice, but she wanted the comfort care. And when we got through with that, it was a great experience because she passed peacefully in her sleep. It was beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that. Rory, what about?
I was going to say it was communicated to me in person, which I think is important when you're trying to engage with someone. It made me feel important, like I mattered to them, like I was part of their village, I think.
What kind of tone did it take?
Oh, that's been a while. I'm not sure. That's a good question, Kathleen. I'm not sure. It was not a demanding, but more of a inquiry, kind of like I'm asking for you to join me in this. I don't know. That's really hard to describe. I think just because it's been so long.
Sure. We're going to think about this for a moment. So anybody else have any other experiences they'd like to share? I hope that you have something in mind as we move forward that will help us build empathy for what we're doing with our families. So family engagement is defined as the ongoing partnership between families, schools, and communities at large to support and strengthen the learning, development, and well-being of all of our students and their families. So we're going to, as I said, look at the impact of family engagement, some effective strategies and practices, and supportive habits, mindsets, and behaviors that go with that. So let's stop and think why family engagement is important. There's a lot of research that shows that families being involved in a child's experience has a lasting effect on their well-being, their academic success, learning to read, their learning readiness, their attendance in school, their engagement in school. It shows a value for education. It also has shows that there's students who are more likely to complete high school. And it impacts the success and achievements in their adult lives. So one small thing can be have such an enormous impact on our students for the rest of their lives. So when we think about family engagement, the first thing to think about is that it should be intentional and it should be sustained. So there are actions we can take, and we may already have them in our toolkit. There are habits that we can establish. We make decisions about how those are going to look, when we're going to provide the information and engage, how we're going to do it. We should work on collaborating with families, and as well as we might even collaborate with colleagues, and then consider the practices we're going to use in order to make our family engagement happen. Over time, engagement changes as a student grows. So what we do with very small children changes and morphs a little bit as they move into different developmental stages, what relationships they have with their parents, and the kind of school that they're in. So even within elementary and early childhood, we have some changes that are going to take place. But overall, these strategies and practices can be adapted and adopted to work with families over time. So family engagement is responsive. We should think about it in terms of our families' cultures and life experiences, what strengths they bring to our classroom and to our students, what their needs are, and as well as consider the schools and communities' strengths and needs, what they have to offer, as well as what we need from our families and caregivers. It should be strengths-based, so it should be doable. That is, it shouldn't be something that's outside of anyone's ability to take care of. And we really have to consider who our families are in order to determine what is doable, and for us as well. It should be scaffolded, so there should be levels at which families can enter into that participation and engage. And we leverage relationships, we leverage the cultures, we leverage the traditions that are already in place. It should also be accessible. So the first thing we think about is that we have students who have different home languages. And so considering what those home languages are can be our first point of considering how to make engagement and our communication and the tools we might give our parents accessible. We also want to consider, though, the culture, because at different socioeconomic groups have different cultures, of course, different ethnic groups have different cultures. So being aware of those different cultures and practices can really help us to make family engagement accessible. We also want to provide different ways for families to be a part of the group and invite them to be a part of that group. And sometimes that means having pairing families together to support one another. We should always keep in mind who's not part of the group and ways that we might include them. And this can be somewhat time consuming, but we want to be aware so that we can support everyone in our class, and everyone has something to offer. So the benefits, who benefits in our communities includes everyone. So students, families, teachers, the whole school community will benefit when families are engaged and a part of what we're doing. So let's look at students and families. How do families benefit? So it really does strengthen the relationships among family members when we bring our families in to participate and to be engaged with the learning process for our students. It also increases their connection to the school community. And as I said, each person has something that they can offer. And so being connected to the school community will also enhance what's happening with the community as well as what happens within the family and within the classroom that supports our students. Children benefit when their parents are directly involved and engaged in learning. So in those early years, what typically we're looking at is that practicing skills that students need is something that parents can do with their children. So it might be something like it can be reading and vocabulary, and it can be math practice. It can be physical education. It can be things that are maybe not being that we're not always able to address in a classroom. So it could be taking a science concept and adding that into their learning, maybe a cooking lesson, or it could be going out to observe nature. It can be music. It can be appreciation for the world. It could be world languages. So there are many ways that we can support parents and give them opportunities to practice those skills that students are developing with at home. Teachers benefit because they have an increased and improved understanding of their students. And this builds also a trusting relationship with them as well as with their parents and guardians. When children know their parents trust their teachers, they're going to be more likely to learn and to be comfortable and to develop a relationship with their teacher. And we know relationships are so important when it comes to learning. It also shows that students are going to be more successful when they have a trusting relationship. The school and community benefits because now teachers can be happier because they've got supports. They know what's going on with their families. They're not struggling with their students as much. It can support classroom behavior and management. It can support learning. When we have a team, instead of being all by ourselves, it's so much healthier. It also improves relationships and increased collaboration, cooperation, and support across the school. So we're going to focus now on family engagement in these early years. And if you have any questions as we move along, please let me know. So the first thing to think about, and this is one of the key pieces that is talked about, is listening loops. So it is building family engagement within the family as well as with the teacher, starting with questions of children sharing what they're learning or teachers sharing what the students are learning, and then providing opportunities for parents to ask their students about what they're learning and have them share that information. It increases listening between the parties. And so everyone is sharing, asking, and listening. So that's what creates this listening loop. We provide parents and caregivers with prompts to start conversations, ask the child what they've learned, activities then that they can follow up with as children are learning these experiences. So another piece is letting parents and caregivers know what their children's successes are, even when they're small steps. And especially I think when they're small steps, because it's children when they're making those incremental things, and we're having perhaps a child who's struggling more than some of our others. Parents are often aware of that, and so sharing those growths with their parents can be such an important piece in helping to support the child to continue to be develop confidence and to move forward, and to give the parents notification ideas of how their students are doing. Another piece is being consistent with communication, as well as inclusion or including all our families. So as we think about how to be consistent, think about what's already in place in the way that you communicate with families now. If you're not yet communicating on a regular basis, think about how you could schedule that, and what you're going to talk about, what you're going to do. So there's many different ways to go about communicating now. In fact, there's so many, I think it's difficult to make choices sometimes, and everybody has their preferred method. So it might be very valuable to decide on one or two. Your district probably has a platform also in place that they want you to use. I know that for very young children, there's a lot of communication that goes on between parents and teachers through texts, through videos, through different ways, so that parents are constantly informed of what's going on in their child's world. And as they get older, that's not quite so is not so likely to happen. So be intentional and think about the platform that you want to use, and what's going to be doable, what's going to be accessible for all of your families, and who is going to be engaged. You may have, for example, families that are multi-generational, or grandparents who are taking care of children. You may have great-grandparents who are taking care of small children. So be mindful of generational needs. You may have Gen X and Gen Z that are also entering into parenthood. So there are going to be different needs for different generations, as well as for different cultural groups and different socioeconomic groups. So be mindful. Consider home language supports. If there's translation tools, AI does have some, Google Translate. They are not perfect, I have to let you know. And so you want to think about those carefully, as well as you might think about if your school offers bilingual liaisons or someone who can translate for you. Some parents rely on their children to be the translator, and that places them in kind of an awkward position sometimes. Some children say it's a very powerful position, but at the same time, if you're trying to connect with the parent, it might be really valuable to find someone who, other than the child, to work with. And then you might have weekly newsletters and communications, or if that's more than you can put together, or unless you had a template and a format that okay, I can just replace this and put this in. This is the standard template I'm going to use, and this is how I'm going to do it. You can share classroom updates, tips, upcoming events, those kinds of pieces that are for everyone. And then, of course, creating feedback loops. At the beginning of the year, especially, you might ask parents to complete short surveys, and then throughout the year to do quick check-ins, so that you can kind of track how students are doing, the feedback from parents in terms of how they feel about what's happening, get a climate survey, or a academic survey, or perceptions that parents have on what's happening with their children in class and beyond. So we think about effective communication and effective ways to being evidence-based and consistent and sustained. So when we say consistent, we just mean doing it on a regular basis, and sustained means we keep it up. So those are important aspects of this, of community or family engagement. So make our families partners in learning. Here's some suggestions and what things that you can do to keep your families engaged. For an example, you might invite goal setting. Involve families in creating learning or behavior goals. Has anyone tried something like this? Home learning extensions is another. So you can send home fun, simple activities that families can do together that are based on what you're already doing in class, that are extensions. You might share strategies for learning. So provide tips for supporting reading, math, or routines at home. These, I think, are more common things that teachers might already be engaged in. And then,
Kathleen,
yes,
in the chat, Deanna Richardson shared that yes, she had tried the invite goal setting strategy.
excellent.
Because I don't think you can see the chat, can you?
I can, but it, it takes a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit. So
Oh, well, that's what I thought. That's why I was helping out
I
here.
appreciate
So
that.
there's a couple more that just popped up. That was the only one there until I clicked into it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we also have Lisa Sizemore has shared that she's done goal setting when working with students to build on success if they're struggling in the classroom. And Candy Padfield says, I've asked parents what they would like their students to be able to do by the end of the year. Those are all really valuable, helpful goal setting pieces that help parents feel more engaged and involved and valued, that what they care about matters to the teacher as well. Have you ever considered a student-led conference? So I know that I know some teachers have tried this, and it can be really a really great thing for children to be able to talk to their parents and to their teachers. So you might consider the aspect of project-based learning and how they might select a portfolio and show what they would select their best work and show their families how they've grown. And so Kimberly McCoy says she has done it and she loves this method. And I'm wondering, Kimberly, would you feel confident or comfortable in sharing how you set it up and what you did and what the results were?
So I taught pre-K. I'm not teaching pre-K right now, but I taught pre-K, and I set it up so that like one table was the parent going through the letters of the alphabet. Another table was the parent going through with their child um, the numbers, counting shapes, those sort of things, so that the parents could see exactly where their children were. And then the children could talk to them about what they were doing in the classroom and how they were doing it. And then they came and talked to me afterwards, and we worked together to set goals. So yeah.
Thank you. That is a really cool strategy. So I want you to think about this for just a moment. What are effective ways that you can engage with families that you're aware of that maybe stem from what we've already just seen, or maybe some additional ideas?
I was going to say one of the things that I used was talking points, because I could type out a message to all of my students. I was an EL teacher for a while, and then it would go out to the parents in their own language. And so it was a great way to have that communication with parents that where there was a language barrier.
Oh, that is really super. So that's through talking points. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Anyone else?
it was through talking points.
What languages did you have represented?
I had Farsi, I had, of course, Spanish, Portuguese, French, um, I was at Bixby for 2 years as an EL teacher the last 2 years.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
This might be a good time to let you know that we have over 100 different languages spoken in Oklahoma, in our communities. And so it's very exciting to be able to add that into our learning experiences and to celebrate those languages and cultures as well as English. Multilingual learners have greater cognitive development than those who are monolingual. And so we can really take advantage and support those students with in this way.
I have a question. We seem to
Yes.
have a lot of Guatemalan people, and some of them do not speak Spanish.
That's correct.
How do you, do you all, how do you communicate with your Guatemalan families?
Are you talking directly to me or are you asking the group?
Everybody.
I'd like to hear that too.
I can say I did not have any from Guatemala, but I would look into talking points because then you can set the language to their specific language and you would be able to communicate back and forth through it would be through text basically, but it helps a lot.
What, they don't have a written language.
See that I don't know.
We're going to have
These are the people who lived in the forest.
Is there a language line or anything that supports it?
No, there is
'Cause
not. We are learning, one of the girls, we had a family of 9 kids, and the oldest one finally, because I did ESL with her, she finally learned how to speak English. And she would interpret. And I told her that maybe it would be good for her parents to go to a parent language. They had classes for them in another town, and they went to that, and they're learning English now. But we would take care of them. We would, if they were sick or something, if they needed anything, we were always there for them. And that seems to be one way you can get families. Her mom got very active with when all the other kids started coming to school and doing everything.
That's just excellent. Those are excellent ideas. And, when you're dealing with families who don't speak English and, like you said, don't have another maybe written language, helping them and reaching out to them in very personal ways um, is one of the best ways to engage with them, and that will really benefit them and their students and can support the community. So, as we think about the beginning of a school year, you want to make sure that you're creating a welcoming environment for everyone. You might make family welcome calls, a phone call at the beginning of the year, or in some cases, you might need to make a personal visit. I've known teachers who have gone into their students' homes to meet parents and to talk to them, work with them, and especially if you're talking about groups that don't speak English, that's going to be even a bigger need. Being able to create and offer multilingual resources. Students do much better in learning English if their home language is being supported as well. And reading in any language is going to support literacy. Students, of course, build on that home language and their transferable skills. Think about creating flexible event times or meeting times. So when in the morning might you be available, or an evening, or providing virtual options if they can't, if parents are unable to meet in person. And of course, virtual is going to be another piece that may or may not be accessible for some groups. And so again, you going to them might be the strategy that has to happen. Consider parent ambassadors. You may have families who, for example, with the Guatemalan refugees or immigrants who are here, those who have become more acclimated might be able to reach out to those who are newer and maybe who are not as involved to increase their engagement, to help support them and help connect them. Oftentimes, they will feel more supported and more comfortable coming into a school or coming into your classroom when they have someone that they already know or who is similar to them to come in, and if they have someone to work with. But that's not just true about immigrant families. I can tell you from personal experience that having a friend who will, that's one of the biggest ways to get people involved, is if they will engage with their friends or have a friend who will reach out to them and help them become involved. And that then further builds that environment of trust and gives you support when you need it. Think about how you might honor traditions. So you might have families share their customs, share recipes, or music, stories, dance, artwork. There's a lot of different traditions that they might be able to share. For our Native American students as well, these can be really valuable pieces that are going to support all of these children in becoming successful, and in families being engaged and involved and supportive. Make sure that we're avoiding assumptions. It's just natural human nature to have assumptions, to look at something and to see it as different. So learning about diverse family structures and practices can be really helpful. At the same time, sometimes the information that's out there is maybe not accurate. And so making sure that our sources are correct and that we're looking at families and talking to them, asking questions and learning and being open to finding out about that information can be so important and valuable for our families as well as for our students. Think about asking parents about their preferences for communication and how they want to be involved. And that seems very self-evident. And then think about how we can focus on assets and not deficits, not what students are not able to do or what families are not able to do, but on what they can do. And seeing these diverse pieces in people's lives, their experiences, whether they're similar to us or different, as assets and not so much as something to hold them back. Think about curriculum nights where you can explain what and how students are learning. So the idea of the student-led conference that we heard about, of how students were moving from one center to another, is similar to a curriculum night. We could do workshops as well and help train our parents in things like digital tools or reading strategies or how they might help with homework. Those workshops wouldn't necessarily have to be in person, although that probably would be a lot of fun. They could be something you do digitally that you create and show parents or direct them to resources that would help them. A family learning night. So perhaps your students are focused on a particular content area. You might do something with that content and do games, do experiments, expose them to different experiences and learning. And oftentimes then that can be an impetus for change and give parents an experience that they want their children to have all the time. And so schedules that might impact schedules and changes in curriculum and additions to things that we need. So you might have an art night. You might have a world language night. You might have, like it says, suggests here, a reading picnic, and it could be in multiple languages. You might have a readers theater. You might do all kinds of different things that just wherever your imagination leads you and where you see students interested, excelling, and excited, and where you also might see a need for further support. These are great ways and great things to engage families in and bring them into the school. Family volunteering, of course. If you can have parents sign up to be a reading buddy or maybe a guest speaker to talk about what their life experience, maybe what they've been through, or maybe what their career is. It's never too early to expose children to thinking about careers and what life looks like as an adult, and especially children who are who don't have a lot of opportunities in their neighborhoods or in their homes, that we would consider ways to help them be upwardly mobile. That's not the only value in this. And those families are rich in many ways that perhaps other families are not. So, but thinking about what we can do to expose children to a lot of different ideas and a lot of different experiences, and families to be involved can be so helpful. They also might be able to and willing to help organize events. I know when I had children in school, we had homeroom parents, and they were very instrumental in providing support for teachers, like making copies or organizing things, helping with events, all the different things that a teacher may not have that extra time to do, but they've got these great ideas. You probably have a set of hands among some parents who are willing to give you that kind of support. Think about how you use technology thoughtfully. So some families are going to love video messages, providing personalized greetings and updates. These might be of something you can put onto a management platform that your school has. You might have a photo sharing app where you could show what kids are doing in their daily classroom life. That would be a great interest to families. We always love to see our children who engaged and doing things, and who they're hanging out with, and how their experiences are going. We can do online portfolios where parents can see student growth over time. Of course, there's always digital parent-teacher conferences if that works out. And I know some schools provide time for in-person as well as digital. And parents are a lot more likely to be engaged with their early childhood, elementary age students and coming to parent-teacher conferences than they are in middle school and high school. We see that drop off. But so take advantage of being able to work with parents and talk to them. You might have a digital family resource hub that you can think about all the different things that might go into that. And you might, again, have a parent who is maybe overseeing this, and maybe who is even contributing it. Does anybody do anything like this? All right. You might consider a family learning project. So you could connect learning to home life. I'm sure you can think of a lot of different things that could go into this kind of an activity. Projects that where parents and children or families are working together, maybe on family history, maybe on community history, maybe like a family tree. You could try home science experiments. Cooking is a great example of home science, but there's many other things as well. You could do, for example, a cultural recipe journal. We all have culture. We're all, and we often, from our own personal perspective, don't necessarily think of ourselves as having culture. And some of us do. Some of us say, okay, well, my grandparents were from X country, or my parents are from X country, or I just moved from X country. But if you've lived if you've lived in Oklahoma a long time, you probably associate yourself with Oklahoma culture. And what does that look like? So thinking about cultural aspects and making comparisons and bringing them together. You might even have families present photos, drawings, short videos then of the products, the process, as well as the product. So I really want to encourage you to think about making sure you help families understand the process is as important as the product. And that will help us to deal with some of the things we're facing as we look ahead, and with artificial intelligence being a product and an end source, creating something in the end. But how do we get to that end, and what are we doing in order to make that creation? I think that's part of also what brings out our humanity. And it also inspires a lot of language use. Celebrate and share highlights in class and have it like a virtual showcase. You might do that every quarter, or maybe twice a year in the fall semester at the end, or around Christmas, maybe at the end of the school year then, or you could do it at different times depending on maybe some themes that you're working with. There's lots of different ways to adopt these and adapt these ideas. How about a parent cafe or a coffee chat where you might invite parents to get together with you on a regular basis, where you can have conversations with them, where you might have groups of parents and you talking. They could be in person, they can be Zooms, and have maybe focus on a topic that you're reading about or interested in, or that is going on in society, the school, the community, the classroom, and things that parents maybe you could support parents in learning more about, maybe routines, or maybe getting some curriculum support. You could then also give parents an opportunity to break out in groups together and talk. And if they needed to talk in their own languages, that might also be something that you could do, and then bring it all back and have them share ideas. You might also invite counselors or EL specialists, or if you think about community members, you might bring them in to talk with about these same ideas. Maybe they would reinforce and provide information, or maybe they'd have a different perspective. So family setting, goal setting conferences. These, of course, we talked about a little bit already. So focus on student support and achievement with family involvement. You can do virtual meetings, of course, or you could do in person. Setting whatever types of goals you would establish or think would be appropriate to work together on. And you could have a template that you use, and guiding questions that you rely on. Then you can share that progress and those updates on a regular basis. You could do it in person again. You could do it through some sort of written report. You could do it through an oral response or a phone call. There's also ways to record information and just share it, as I'm sure you know. So there are different ways that you could follow that up. And of course, again, you're going to think about who your families are, what their needs are. Is it doable? Is it accessible? And then, of course, celebrating our students and our families. Sending notes home along with phone calls is a really effective way to highlight your students and to build relationships with parents, and to help children feel valued. You want to highlight their efforts, maybe kindness, maybe some other attribute that they're developing in. Maybe it's something that you were working on in your goals. Maybe it's organization, or maybe it's advocating for themselves, or maybe it's talking out, speaking, answering questions. Maybe it's, their leadership skills. Maybe it's holding back. Maybe it's caring for someone in kindness. Some sort of where you're seeing growth, where you're seeing something positive. You might also create something like family shout outs, where you recognize family contributions. You might do that in your newsletters, or you could do it during class, or you could put it on your walls and display it. We also have things like virtual and in-person showcases, where you can display student work and ask families to provide feedback about what they're seeing their students do. And of course, you might want to, I can think about parents in the past who may have not wanted to provide positive necessarily feedback for something. So you might want to make sure that when you invite that feedback, that you let them know how to frame that feedback. You might have culture days or heritage months where you could include those family traditions and histories that we talked about in the slide before this. And then think about family skill sharing or career days. And there can be a virtual component to this if you needed to or wanted to. So this opens doors and opens windows to build community and real world connections for our students. We can invite parents to present their skills and careers. They might video it, they might show video, they might do a live session and come in and do demonstrations. There's no end to the variety and what you can have students do. And then in terms of getting your students engaged and keeping them involved, have them prepare questions, have them do reflective kinds of questions as they're listening, teach them how to listen, teach them how to respond and ask questions, teach them how to be a good participant. Those are all pieces that then can build that community and support these aspects. You might even have a family show and tell, where you might invite students to share a video or a live presentation about something from home. So again, this ties into traditions, family culture. It could be food related, science related, something about keepsakes. This is a take on the old show and tell kind of aspect, where children are showing what's important to them or what's important as a family, but you could make it family oriented. And then here's an idea: a family member interview, having children talk about or interview their families and share what's special to them. So going back to what we talked about with sharing information about with parents, Sandra Clark shares this. I think it's so special. She said I sent home a note to parents about a child who was always getting into trouble, but he liked to play football. He took home the note and had to read it to them. His dad cried and told him how much he loved him. And that is so, see how that just really built that family up and built that relationship up built that child up. It's such an important thing. And I'm sure gave that parent a lot of hope too. Okay. So making learning fun and consistent. We can do that with engagement challenges. And I think this is a really fun thing. So if you have something that you could do on a regular basis, and again, something you may want to work up to, if you're not already doing something like this, but consider how you might add it in. Send home a low preparation, high interest activity that integrates a unit theme and adds additional content areas. So it's going to be like a thematic web where you might have a question that you're going to address and think about the different aspects of that theme and where it might land in science or where it might land in language arts, or like with a book, or with character study, or with some sort of science or math experience. So think about how you're going to extend that learning and make it applicable to real world experiences. So an example might be cook something together, measure the ingredients. You could also have students then reflect on it, and you could do it verbally as well as or written, whichever way works best for you and with your students. Or maybe you could suggest going on a nature walk and counting different types of leaves, or picking up different kinds of stones, looking for different kinds of insects. Engaging with nature is so important and so valuable, and it seems like our children don't get enough time to do that in so many aspects. So creating that environment, and then you might have them share their experience and reflect using photos, and they could talk about them. They could record themselves. They could do video. They could do anything that you want them to use as a medium to respond. And then the You Matter home mail email campaign. So this is going to recognize family contributions. So this is going to be student led. You're going to lead it, but students are going to write thank you notes or letters and draw pictures for family members who have helped them with their learning at home. You might extend this beyond family too, if you are able to bring in community to talk to students or work with students or do any kind of outreach in that way. And as teachers, you can also send home positive notes to families and highlight specific contributions. But you, of course, would want to do brainstorming with children and have them think about what ways that their families had helped them to learn more, what they enjoyed, how they enjoyed it, how they experienced it. And the more specific you can get, of course, the more valuable that is to the person who's receiving it, because it will mean a tremendous amount to that person regardless, but especially if it's really clear and articulated well. So I want you to think, we're coming to the end of our time. How does your school welcome families and practice family engagement? Is there anyone who can share what your school does? Are you encouraged as a teacher to welcome families in and to be engaged? And does your school have a particular atmosphere that they create? So Candy says you have family nights. What sorts of things happen on family nights?
We do a STEM night. We do ELA nights, book fair night, math night, STEM night, all just throughout the school year. We try
Okay.
to, the goal is one per semester, and then the STEM one usually happens on a weekend, like a Saturday morning when more families can come.
Thank you. Think about when if families were to walk into your school, what would be their experience? Would they be welcomed by the front office? Are they encouraged to participate and come in? Is there a place for them to go to be, hang out, talk to other parents? Can they go to the library? Can they go to classrooms?
We have a really strong migrant program where where they are. And so the parents come in, they say hello to the secretary, check in with her, and then they know to head to Miss Luna's room, because that's where they can go to be around other people that they can collaborate with, have similar backgrounds, similar languages, and it's a safe place for them to talk and be. And so they're very used to that. At the beginning of the year, for new third grade parents coming in, it's kind of weird for them, but they get into the groove really quick, and they're always coming up all day long, and her classroom's always open for them.
Sounds like a very healthy environment for families. Any other thoughts about your schools or that you would like to share?
I can, because I worked in the Dallas area for 15 years and I moved back home. And just knowing the difference between that culture and back here, I had forgotten about cowboys and some of the things and how people are so different in different areas. But I found that parents in both sides, even the international parents, they want their child to succeed, as does the parents around here. They want their child to succeed. So we just have to be flexible, I think, and learn what we can do to help.
Like that. Thank you. So, where are you going to start? So, you might think about starting with letting parents know that they matter, first of all, and then why. Think about making sure you let them know what kind of communication to expect and how you're going to engage with their how to engage with their students on learning and school related pieces, as well as how to engage with you. So, what platforms you're going to use, what's the best method. Ask them for feedback at the beginning of the year about their students, about what their needs are, find out what their strengths are, find out what they're interested in. Ask parents to share about their students, the same kinds of things. What do they observe about their students? What do they want their students to, the goals they want their children to achieve that year? Invite them to be a part of the classroom and to come to the school, and focus on those nuts and bolts of communication and engagement. And then, so as you're getting ready for this school year, think about how you're communicating with your students' families, what you're communicating, what you can communicate that are going to help students meet learning goals and behavioral goals at this age. What do you already have in place? And so that you're not reinventing the wheel, but recognize what you've already got there. Think about how you can create a listening loop. We talked about that, of the questions, the responses, and creating conversations between the teacher, parent, child, on learning or on whatever topic that you're working with. What do you already have in your curriculum that's going to support parents and students at different stages of their learning and personal development? And how can you leverage your students' families' expertise? So as you move into this into the next school year, think about how you're going to take advantage of the superpower of family engagement. And I want to thank you again for coming today. Do you have any questions or comments? Anything that we have not touched on that you'd like information about? All right. Well, thank you again for coming. Wish you all the best for the upcoming school year, and that you get have a lot of fun in the next few days before you go back. And we hope that you'll come back next week to our next Lunch and Learn. Thank you all.